I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity. And so, as we get deeper into the, video library, have you internalized each one of these videos? Like, too bad we don't have a video on here about caring about other people. Like, if we had a video, if any of you know of a video on caring about other people, man, we want that video, because like the reason that other people aren't on that have been on is they don't know how to internalize things. So this was really interesting. Ken, what do you think of this?
A lot of thoughts on this one. I don't even
Nice.
know where to start.
Nice. Nice. Rosanna, what do you think of this?
I was thinking there's people in my life that are like that, and there are times that I am very much an energy vampire.
Interesting. Luke didn't get a chance to watch it. Ginge, did you get a chance to watch it?
I did not.
Okay. All right. So Ken, further thoughts?
I think this might be the second or third time that I watched it. So, so for me, it seemed like he said, you have three options. You can fix, change, or eliminate that person.
Nice. Does everybody see the significance of what Ken just did?
He broke it down pretty fast.
So. I was thinking, yep, no, didn't think so. What's that, Rosanna?
He broke it down really fast.
Well, yeah, he had to write that down because there's a lot in here. There's a lot in here. So when he's going through,
Good morning, Luke.
Good morning.
We just want to validate you. We want to validate you on getting up so early on a Saturday. I don't know how you do it.
It's so good to have you on our phone call. Did you watch the video?
I made it through about 8 minutes ago.
Okay, good for you. Good for you.
So,
you should text your brother Pete and Paul and tell them to jump on.
Oh, Paul's right next to me.
Oh, nice. Hey, Paul.
Mark says hi.
Mark. Hey, buddy. So anyways, we won't get distracted. And so you got through 8 minutes of it. And so Ken was just sharing something that I didn't think anybody would pick up as being significant. But I wanted to point out, say, hey, this is significant. He's actually taking notes. I mean, I'm sure, Luke did that, because I'm not saying that Luke gets frustrated with coworkers who don't take notes when he's instructing them. I'm not saying that, because obviously if he got frustrated with coworkers when he's training them how to do something and not taking notes, it's like, why doesn't this person take notes? Like, hello. Like, if Luke ever felt that way, he would probably go ahead and, he wouldn't want to be a hypocrite. And, he's going to take notes too on things. So his dad took notes. And so nice, Ken. So 3 things is in dealing with stress. So 3 suggestion things in dealing with stress. You can try to fix it, you can try to change it, or you can try to eliminate it. So in mentoring, or a suggestion, let's say, to Ken, is if you don't understand what you're doing is significant, probably other people won't either. So when you just kind of go over it, other people, they're not going to realize, they won't even realize, well, wait a minute, Ken took notes. Like, I didn't take notes. Like, why did he take notes? Like, I better pay. So sometimes you gotta, if you don't have somebody that's pointing out how genius or brilliant or disciplined or whatever, if you don't have somebody pointing that out of you, Ken, learning how to do that, point yourself out and how brilliant or significant what you're doing, it'll actually help people lock in and they'll get something from it. Does that make sense, Ken?
Yes and no.
What's the no?
I think it could do that, or it could do something different. I think it could repel a person, it could distract a person from you trying to focus. I mean, it could make them basically ignore you, I think, because you're drawing attention to yourself. And
Are you?
well, that's how they could be interpreting it. Yes. Whether you are or not, that's a great question.
And if they interpret it that way, you know,
Right,
that
it's
might
a mirror
reveal far
principle.
more,
So then
that
they're
might
really
reveal far more about them than you. And so you're
It could.
actually getting out in front of them and you're letting them control you without even giving them a chance to go ahead and, see something significant. So go ahead.
where do you want me to go ahead?
Try to fix it, try to change it, try to eliminate it.
Oh, go from there.
Yeah.
So my observation is it didn't seem when I step back and listen and think of the whole thing, it seemed like he didn't spend a lot of time on fixing, changing, or eliminating. It seemed like he spent more time than anything is how do you just live with that person, those people?
Right? That's what I'm saying.
It's like, I mean, there was a couple things that he said. One thing I thought was neat with the downer.
Yeah.
He said, ask him this question. What do you want?
Right.
Like that was, I think,
Right.
that was a good thing, I thought. Because,
Right.
but I left lacking thinking the guy, he's a wuss.
Right. Right. Like he talks about you might, and he's looking around over his shoulder. You might want to confront him. Like you might have to confront him. Like confrontation is like, oh my goodness. Like, oh, you might have to, but if you can appease them, for sure appease them.
Right. It was almost like he said he did say just say no and ask them to do something for manipulators. That I thought was good too.
The boundary stuff though just drove me crazy.
I bet they.
Oh yeah, I'm like, he didn't even bring up people who talk about boundaries and safe. You're not a safe person or boundaries. They don't have boundaries themselves. He didn't talk about. They don't even know when you're. You tell them very clearly this is a boundary, and they just run right over. And then they're like, this is sorry, put it on mute, block your kids' ears. Like they have what I call, I think I've coined this, the dumbass, like they just blew over a boundary that you've told them 10 times, don't blow over this boundary. And they have this dumbass, so I didn't know. It's like, how can you not know? Are you an idiot? Like he talked about boundaries and it's like it seems like he didn't really study boundaries a lot. Anyways, yeah, keep going.
So staying emotionally neutral was one thing he said for a split person. And I don't know, and this is just an example. I think he gave a number of things, and I don't know where that falls into the one of those three. It doesn't seem to fix, it doesn't seem to change, and it doesn't seem to eliminate. And so it's like some of his video, if I were to guess, I would say 40% of his video is not one of those three things.
So just to be clear, because I want to be clear, that's important. Ken is not being a downer about the video, and neither am I. Okay, we're not. Like, we appreciate everything he gave in 14 minutes. Like, we didn't have to pay for it. We didn't have to work for it. So we're not being downers about this. You know,
Or
we're not
maybe I am. That's a good point. Maybe that's exactly what I am.
well, I don't think you are, because if you were, then I might be, and I don't, because I came up with even more suggestions on what could have been done. It's 14 minutes, like,
right. It's like washing your hands, you know. Oh, that's okay.
right?
Did you
He
hear he
can-
died? Mark,
What's that?
did you hear he died?
No.
He died this week.
Wow, I didn't hear that.
92 years old, I think it was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Why? Interesting.
I was just testing. You passed the test, Luke. I was seeing if anybody cared about me, anybody ever listened to me, and you did. Now, other people around here, Luke, I'm not going to name any names. They're like, don't ever say that to Mark. Like, just don't. Like, don't say how's your day going. Like Kenny's girlfriend Marla, she learned that. Like, I went downstairs and she was downstairs with Rosanna, and she said, "Oh, hi, Mark." I said, "Hi," and she says, "How's your day?" And then she's like, puts her hand above. Oh, sorry. I didn't ask that. I like her. She's cool. Anything else, Ken?
No, that's a good overview.
Excellent. Rosanna.
Otherwise than that, I loved it. It was awesome. It was a great, I mean, the 7, is it 7, 3, 6, 7, the 7, all of those, yeah, that part I loved because it definitely got me thinking about those people and I have, I mean, it did look at myself and said, holy cow, yeah, where am I doing some of that? But I need to spend a lot more time. That's what I need to do. I need to go through the video again and actually write down where am I in the last week? Where have I been a victim, a downer, a narcissist, a manipulator, a controller, a split, and an attention seeker? Somebody in my life, boy, that guy is so important to me. Oh my goodness. He is such a, oh my goodness. He pointed out some things about that I've got this attention seeker stuff. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So he's like,
Luke, I just want you to know that your dad loves you just as much as he does the other brothers. If that was ever a question.
I don't think I've questioned that. I think he loves me more, probably.
So my guess is you think he loves you more than Pete?
Yeah, but all of them.
Okay. I think he likes you more. I think he loves Pete more because we tend to like people who are like ourselves, and we tend to fall in love with people who are opposite.
It's so funny that it seems like people like they have this need to compare. You know, it's got to be more than. Why do people try and say, "Oh, you know, dad loves me more than he loves you, or mom loves me more than." I wonder if we should do that. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well,
Does God love
dwell
you
on
more
it.
than he loves me?
I mean, if that hadn't happened, Ken, we wouldn't be alive today.
I don't even want to ask the question.
I mean, just look at Joseph, you know, and look at how good that turned out.
Look at what?
Look at Joseph and how good that turned out.
Yeah, my perspective of that was not the same as probably yours. If you look at that as good.
Well, he saved the entire world.
Yeah, I don't think it's because he was given a coat of many colors.
Well, that might be another conversation for the passion one. Because it's like, I can't connect any dots for people. It's weird. It's like, how
Right.
come people can't?
Well,
Anyway,
obviously, if he didn't have a coat of many colors and if his brothers weren't angry at him, they wouldn't have sold him to the Egyptians.
Correct.
oh, somebody can connect dots. Interesting.
But we don't know what would have happened if that didn't happen.
But we do know what did happen.
Yes, we do.
So,
And so
often-
because one person sleeps with another person's like decides, oh, we're not gonna follow God's direction. We're gonna try and come up with it ourselves. Then that we could basically say, oh, well, then it happened in the Bible, so let's go ahead and do it. It's kind of like the holy kiss, right? Oh, we can choose whatever, we can say, oh, it's okay for a man to kiss a woman on the lips, but it's
if
it's
any
not
of you
okay for a man to
wondering
kiss
if
somebody
Ben's
else's
giving
woman
a
on the
real
lips.
life example of the 7 for everybody to demonstrate, I would have to say, what? Like, if he's trying to go ahead and reinforce it, Rosanna, what you got?
I was just wondering why you spent an hour and a half breaking it down.
Because other people won't. Now, Ken did far more than anybody I would have ever expected. Like, I didn't expect anybody to break it down, take notes on it. So there's, this is the 7th time I've watched it, at least, maybe more. I've talked about it, spoken on it, did tons of podcasts on it. But I'm like, I probably missed something. And so people aren't going to take notes. And so, I think about Luke and the trauma that he had where he's in a job, he's newer in the job, and, somebody's not listening to him. And then, and then there's and then he's honest, which is what he was taught to be. And then he goes, like, I just think of that whole situation. I'm present for that whole thing. And I'm like, man, is that thing, holy cow, is that thing full of wealth and richness there. So there's so much, like Tom Kuntz, like he never complains about hearing a story more than once. Why? Because he's like a child. Like I don't know what it was, 5-6 years ago. I read something about how children, like, why do children watch the same, like Bluey? Why do they watch the same thing over and over again? Because their brains haven't been developed. So every time they see the movie, it's a new movie. It's a new nuance. So some people, or maybe a number of these 7, because they're like, I try to make sure that I always remember what stories to go ahead. I told to what people, especially certain people, because I never want to tell a story twice to, that person. Though, like and it's interesting because Tom also said, he says, Mark, I've never met anybody like you. It's like, I tell you something like a story like 7 years ago, and I've only told it once, and you remember it. Like, because I think it's significant. I think when people tell stories, they're significant. So I try to go ahead and like absorb every piece of information. Like Luke's story is just, we had to do a podcast just on that. That'd be a great podcast for young men. Holy cow. Would that be a life changer? Does that help, Rosanna, or not so much?
Yeah, it does.
So it's like, you got to feed people, you got to spoon feed them. And the challenge is, if you don't spoon feed them, they starve. The challenge is, though, if you keep spoon feeding them, then you become part of the problem. It's like the YouTube generation, it's like everything's got to be crunched down in less than 3 minutes or nobody's going to go ahead and watch it. And so So you get tighter and tighter, but then you just become part of the problem. And it's like, oh, that stinks. Elaine, did you get a chance to watch it?
Just part of it.
So Elaine's internet stuff is having challenges. And so any thoughts you had on it?
I just watched a little bit of it. I don't have much.
Gotcha. Luke, your 8 minutes. What'd you see?
Well, to be honest, I almost felt like some of it I saw you, some of it I saw my dad.
You
Of
didn't see
like-
me in everything?
Maybe I didn't get to everything.
Should have been able to. That's what I saw. When I saw that, I'm like, holy cow, I'm all of those.
Oh, I see. Wait, like you take energy?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I saw all of those things. Like Rosanna, she said she saw other people like that. And then secondary, she saw herself. I was just the reverse. I saw myself first in all of these. I'm like, holy cow, you know, I'm gonna be a victim. I'm gonna be a downer. I'm gonna be a narcissist. I'm gonna be a manipulator. I'm gonna be a controller. I'm gonna be a split personality. And I'm a purely attention seeker. I can see myself in all of those things. Oh, so just so I can have clarity too. So sometimes, I have social autism, right?
Yeah, I've heard.
Okay. So like, if you don't put, to be honest with you, in front of something, does that mean you're lying then?
If you don't put what in front of it?
If you don't say you're being honest,
Oh,
does that mean you're lying then?
I don't think so.
Okay. So why do people do that? Like, that's always puzzled me, why people say
Oh,
that.
did I do that?
Well, yeah, and most people do it without, it's a reflex. It's just they
Yeah.
say that, and it's like, why are they saying that?
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that, because if there's two people in this world I can be honest with, it's you and my dad.
Okay. Why is that?
I don't know. Just because you like a lot of honest back and forth, I would think.
Okay, interesting. Melissa, did you go ahead and get a chance to watch it?
I did not, no.
Luke, did you have other thoughts on the 8 minutes that you watched it?
I feel like maybe I'm a bit of a downer, but I feel like it's more to myself, which Dad, you could probably chime in if you think I'm just a downer in general, or if I'm just a downer to myself.
So why do you think you need his validation?
More so because like I'm saying that I don't put that energy off onto other people, but I just hold it aside. So I kind of would like someone to see if I actually do put it off on other people.
Okay, got it.
Like in a normal situation.
Got it. Okay. Ken?
I think it definitely, you aren't able to keep it just to yourself.
Balls. Yeah. That's tough to hear,
Why
Sorry.
is that?
because that's not what I want to be. It
Well, I
sounds
think
foolish.
it's probably tough to hear because you haven't thought about it yourself. You haven't already ruminated on it yourself. You haven't been self-aware and self-critical. If you were self-aware and self-critical, it wouldn't be hard to hear because you've already heard it yourself many times over.
That's true.
And I wonder, Luke, if you hear it and you start looking at it, when you see something you don't see or hear something you didn't know, and you start to go into it, it can become exciting because it can be where you start to change. And maybe you start thinking about it differently, like, is it wrong to be a downer at times? Is is it wrong to be, you know, or do you have to always put on a face, a mask? Or do you, maybe there's people like relationally, if you are in a deep relationship with someone, can you be, like you said to Mark and me, like you can be honest? Well, wouldn't it be neat for you to have 2 or 3 other people that you feel like you could be honest, or if you know, if you're down, you can share you're down, and it's not a bad thing that you share, as long as it doesn't become everything, which I think that's what this is. These people are downers all the time. They're
When said, and Ken says all the time, he doesn't mean all the time. What he means is more times than not. Like it's not 100% of the time for, you know, 100%. It's they don't know how to take. So what's a downer? Probably it's going to be the analytic. The analytic personality is going to see the negative. They're going to be the cynic. They're going to be the skeptic. And so what they're doing is, it's, you can think of it like sailing a ship. So what's more important in sailing the ship? Is it the sails or the anchor?
No idea. Sounds
They're
like
not.
both.
Yeah, it's both. That's exactly right. It's both. But there's a time to have the sails and there's a time to have the anchor. And if you're using the anchor when you should use the sail, that's not good. If you're using the sail when you should use the anchor, that's not good. And so our greatest strength is our greatest weakness, and our greatest weakness is our greatest strength. Misapplied is taking a strength and carrying it too far. These are the mental disorders of the different personalities. And first time I showed this to him, he said, "Holy cow, it's me and all of them. I see myself in all of these things." And
Did
so,
you say Tom's the one who said that?
uh-huh.
So that would be interesting, because I think, I didn't think about it until you guys mentioned it. I think that for me, I was more like Rosanna in that, maybe even further away than Rosanna was, where I almost had to, like at the end, I had to say, where am I in this? Like it wasn't a reflex for me. Like I definitely didn't look at this and say, oh yeah, I'm a victim. Oh yeah, I'm a downer. I'm a this. Like that was something way down the line for me.
So this is significant because what Ken's doing is he's making himself vulnerable. And that's very hard for people to do. It's very hard. Like Tom saying, like, I'm all of these things. Like when he first saw this, that's why I like him, because he has a reflex of looking at himself inwardly first and seeing his own stuff, you know, getting the plank out of his own eyes before he gets the splinter out of other people's eyes. It's just the habit of who he is. It's crazy. I mean, it's just amazing. Anybody else?
I wonder, Mark, in this video thing, if you could put something on the right-hand side of the video clip and you say, click on this after you've watched the video.
Well, that's what these will be. You know, so these will be here. And so what we'll do is you drill down into these, and then in these are going to go ahead and have the discussion, this podcast.
Yeah.
But then it's also going to have all of my notes. And you may go ahead and add your notes to it.
So the reason why I said that is I wonder, you know, that for this particular video, a good question would be, I think, did you see yourself in being these things first, in the middle, or ever, or something like that? I don't know. Just thinking out loud.
I like that. All right. So I don't know if we have a part 2 on this. you know, because the part twos on the others have gone so well. And so I don't know if you have any questions. I mean, do you care about anybody? You know, like there's so many notes. And so you guys, I'll try to include you guys in on all of the notes and stuff, but there's so many things in here, additional things. It's like you're trying to make people happy. You're trying to avoid conflict. You're trying to not fix situations. Are we just enabling people to continue who they are? So, you know, they're like God, they're the same yesterday, today, and forever. So share this with other people, and how you share it with them. Like, or are you afraid to share it with them and say they're going to get angry and upset because they think I'm talking about, you know, them? So what they've done is they've trained us to go ahead and not say anything to them. So anybody you're thinking, I wouldn't send this to them, send it to them and see what happens. Like, just do it. Like, or you could go ahead and say, hey, I see myself in this. And I was just curious, like Luke did. He saw himself in something, or he wondered, he said, hey, this is who I think I am. And then he asked his dad, what do you see? And his dad saw something different. And Luke said, that's painful. But, you know, so Luke hasn't trained his dad yet not to be honest with him. And his dad came back with something that, you know, was helpful to him. Like, that's pretty cool. So if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the US 630-393-9909. Always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Definitely you want to kind of a buddy system of this one is Voices of Integrity for Passions. Great podcast. You definitely want to go ahead and join in that one as well. Oh, we'll see. Have a blessed day.